Thanks. Andrew, kick us off.
Hey, Coach, got a question about Sebastian Cheeks. How much did the injury set him back last year, and where is he now as far as catching up to where maybe he would be had he not gone through a lot of that?
Yeah, good point, Ash. Andrew, this was probably his best week of practice so far, and so it's been a lot of talk about getting him back in the rotation. Just like we put the young guy AC Amari Campbell in the game a couple snaps last week. Starting to feel a little bit more confident. I mean, with Cheeks, he's playing a lot more physical, get a lot more confidence in his shoulder, and now starting to play the role of being a tough and smart linebacker. So looking forward to this week, and hopefully we can get him in this week.
We hear a lot about coaches getting in certain guys to get a few reps because they need to get reps. But when you have a Cedric Gray and a Power Eccles there, yeah, how difficult is it to pull them off the field to give a guy a couple of reps?
It's difficult, but Coach Brown has made it a commitment to start playing a lot of the young guys. And you're right, Power and Sid are different, and they're in superior shape. They know the game, they're smart, and so it's difficult to get them off the football field. But he got to put some guys in because they got to get some reps. Because if one of those guys go down, then that next guy don't have any kind of repetitions, in a real football game. So Coach Brown is right. We do got to put more guys in. I got to be more confident in some of the young guys and get them at least 10 to 15 reps in the game, especially if it's going to go a 90 script in a 90 script football game. So, yeah, there was one game we played said and 90 plays, and that's way too many. That's almost a game and a half. So, yeah, I need to make a more commitment to putting the young guys in and have a little bit more, a lot more confidence and instead of being spoiled with 23 and 33.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Jeremiah?
Hey, Tommy, I hope you're doing well. You brought up Amari Campbell just a second ago, being one of those younger guys, kind of being in that linebacker rotation. I know Mac Brown over the fall camp was saying he's essentially the number 3 guy there, but how have you kind of seen his game come along? What kind of strides has he made to, really put himself in that position?
He's probably one of them. Jeremiah, he might be one of the smartest young players I've ever been around. His recall is probably one of the best I've seen. You wouldn't know he's a true freshman, just the way he talks to football and the way he's approached to the game, the way he practices. And you can attribute that to, Power and Sid because they push him to the max. But he comes in and he asks a lot of great, problematic questions. And the way his focus is, he very rarely, Jeremiah, does he make the same mistake twice. Maybe something that he hadn't seen one time, but the next time it comes up, he's able to regurgitate it and fix his problem. So he's earned it. I mean, if Power was to go down, we'd have a little bit of experience in there. But the guys on this team, they're very confident and got a lot of confidence in AC.
Yeah, and just real quick to follow up on that, Cedric Gray actually did mention yesterday that Amari Campbell's one of the players on that defense that he's kind of built up a relationship with. Just kind of, you touched on it, but in what ways has he kind of, shown him the ropes in practice or even, on the sidelines during games a little bit?
Well, those two guys, they're self-starters, and they recognize when they see one. And they see that in AC. I mean, they talk to him as if he's a third-year vet. And their conversations are really high level, Jeremiah. Just to see the way they've taken him in, and they'll tell you they respect smart, intelligent football players, and they really respect toughness. And AC has all that we're looking for. He's we thought Power was one of the more probably one of the more physical kids as a true freshman and probably one of the most cerebral kids, but he is right there with Power and Sid when they were at that age at that given time.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Luciano?
Hey, Coach. Hope you're well. Pitt's offense hasn't looked too great in the last 2 games. What stands out the most to you about them when watching them on film?
I didn't hear you. What did you say that one more time, Luciano?
Oh, Pitt's offense. It hasn't looked very well. What stands out the most to you about them when watching them on film?
Well, that game, the last time we've played them, the last 2 times we've played them in Pitt, it's been a dogfight, and they won the last 2 games in overtime. Our kids know. I mean, we didn't, people kept saying, well, we blew them out last year, but we didn't. That game went all the way to the 4th quarter, and they were up by 3 for a long time. The game didn't get lopsided until late in the 4th. So our kids know that Pitt and that staff, or that they are a tough football team, and they take pride in it. and they take pride in running the football and give you all the problematics on offense. So our kids know, I mean, their record says 1-2, but we know that in the past, that game has been a dogfight, especially when you play them up there.
Thanks, Coach.
Adam,
Hey, Thig, what's going on?
Hey. Adam, how you doing, man?
You know, hanging in. Always good to talk to you. Wanted that you mentioned 23 and 33. Wanted to ask you about those guys, and for as productive and dependable and durable as they were last season, what did you, as their position coach, want them to improve on coming into this year? Like, what did you give them? For as good as they were, what did you give them saying, like, this is where we want you to take it coming into this season?
Well, our goal every day is to get 1% better every single day. And then in the off season, make the game. We always told Power and said, well, all the young guys, as a matter of fact, that every year you're here, you got to get at least, 1% better every single day you go out there. And so for Power and said, we know what they needed to work on. The game should be really elementary to say it because he's a fourth-year guy. And then when you look at Power, really, Power was a freshman when we really think about it. Last year was his first year as a true starter. So this is his second year. So the game slows down for him. But for him, the game should be really slow for Said and then slow for Power as well. And that's the one thing we told him is, okay, now this is your second year. We get to study coordinators. We get to study splits. We get to study situational football. Your first year, you're kind of in survival mode as a football player. You kind of know what you're doing. The second year, you kind of know what everybody's doing on the front. And then by your third year, you should know what the offense, how they're attacking you, where you get on the football field, where you get on the clock. You should know the game of football. So that's where Sid is at. And then we're looking at the way Power plays and, where his mentality as a football player, he's right up there as the game. You would think he's a third-year starter with the way he talks. But really, this is his second year ever starting for us. But his recall, his approach to the game, he's a self-starter. So for those guys, when they came back this season, our whole goal was to, not make any of the same mistakes that we made last year and then be better communicators and then hold everybody accountable.
On Cedric, I was wondering who are some of the best leaders you've been around as a player or as a coach? And like, how does Cedric compare? Because it seems like he's really found that aspect of his leadership voice. It seems like, these guys follow him. Yeah,
he was an ROTC kid out of high school, about 2 or 3 years at Audrey Kell. It's, I look at, I had a kid named AJ Johnson. I was at Tennessee, who I thought was an alpha male, and the kids really rallied behind him. And then I look at Sid, AJ was, super strong, super big, probably not as athletic as Sid. And then probably not as cerebral as Sid, but man, he was a great leader, just has a physical presence, has a presence on the football field. And Sid gives you both. Sid gives you a big physical presence on the football field. And then he gives you having a coach out there, because he can tell you exactly what everything is going on the football field. He can tell you the splits. He can tell you the formation. He can tell you who got cut out, the route combination. So the way he can talk to you when he comes to the sideline, him and Power are like talking to two football coaches when they come to the sideline and tell you how they're trying to attack you, who's the blocking schemes that they're getting. So, that's the one thing that you like about both of them. And say it is the fact that it's like having a football coach on the football field. He can talk it, and then as well, he can also with Power, with Sid, it's some guys can really can talk the game to you, but they can't play it. And then some guys can play it, but they can't talk it. But then Sid is one of those combinations that can do both.
Were you surprised he didn't go to the NFL, Cedric?
Oh yeah, I was, because he's super athletic. He's going to run a low 4.5. He's going to jump 40 inches high, and that's what people really realize is that once he goes to the combines and that kind of stuff, and they get a chance to sit down and talk to him, he's a very impressive young man. But I tell you what, he loves Mac Brown. He loves the University of North Carolina. And the thing that he said is like, you know what, I'm going to come back for another season. I want to perfect my game. I want to be the best linebacker in the country. And so the kid is he's focused, and every day he comes out, that's his goal, is to be the best football player that he can be in this league.
Appreciate it, Thig. Sorry for the 3 questions, guys. Appreciate that.
No, you're good.
Tommy,
Yes, sir.
Tommy, when you talk about wanting to get other guys reps, the younger guys, how difficult is the part that you just talked about with Cedric to take off the field, not just making a play after the ball is snapped, but everything he brings beforehand? And how do those young guys sort of get that and get that knowledge when they're not getting those kind of reps?
Yeah, we tell them you get what you earn. You know, if you earn the right to play, and that's Coach Brown saying, you got to earn the right. No, nothing is given to you. No matter if you're a 5-star player and you're the best player in high school coming out, you got to earn it here. And then those guys in that room, they're, you know, especially with 23 and 33, they're looking at you like they know who's supposed to be on the field. So if a guy gets on, and if he gets on the field at Carolina, you know, and would say it in power, then they'll be fine. They'll know that the guy is ready to play. Well, that's why we were able to get AC in the game, because they got trust in him. The teammates got trust in him. And so when we put a guy out there, we expect to be no letdown. You know, there shouldn't be any shifts when if Cheeks goes out there, AC go out there, whoever it may be, there can't be any letdowns, because when you look at it, you know, if there's a letdown, then you letting the team down. So it's hard to put guys out there, but you know, we got to do it, because again, if they go out to practice and they work their butt off and they do everything we ask them to do, then we need to take some of those reps off of Power and Said, so we can have them, you know, fresh at the end of the season.
Just a follow to what Adam asked you about leadership and who Said reminds you of. Does he remind you of yourself at all? I mean, you were that guy when you were at Carolina back then.
And Tommy, because you know the game is so much more complex than it was when I was a player. You know, it was all two backs, and it was even on third down, it was two backs and one tight end. We didn't play nickel, we didn't play dime, we didn't play cinco, we didn't have 35 calls. So you know, it was more like playing the game for us. It was so simplistic. So I'll say it myself, man. I am impressed with the way he talks the game of football, because you know, it's not by accident that he's made himself into a good player. He's really worked at it. You know, the way he goes into a meeting room, you know, is very professional. You know, he's not nodding, he's not sleeping. It's a lot of questions. So as a coach, you have to be on your P's and Q's, because, you know, when they come in the meeting room, they know if you're organized, they know if you hadn't watched tape. They're trying to be the best football player that they can be. And so we owe that to them as a coach, you know, from a head coach to an assistant coach to a D coordinator, is to get them young men in the best position to be successful. So when it comes to Said, you know, every single day he comes in, guys, it's a work day, because he's a self-starter and Power's a self-starter. And so when you talk about me as far as a player, I wish to God I had that kind of knowledge when I was a player back in those days.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Anything else?
Good.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Tyler. See you guys. Have a good day.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, bro.